Hey, and why don't you introduce yourself? I know this is the last couple of days. Yeah, go ahead.
No. They're still trying to figure out where they want to be. But it'll be one
So one of the things really, with all her technical expertise and things, she's now working and all that sort of stuff. That'll be a good opportunity for her to come community stuff and instead, right? And so she's been with me the last couple of days. That's really, all right, you good, Julie?
Yeah, you're live.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we're low on numbers, but we don't have any administrative issues to talk about. So we're going to walk through the agenda. Primarily, it's an update coming from April. Everyone in the table, considered members of the public, would like to provide public comment during the meeting. There will be a specific time that we take public comment and question and answer, just a comment period. However, after the meeting, if you have anything, we'll be here a little bit. We'll be here for any questions. Anything before we vote? Yeah, your argument. So it's meeting. Oh. Why don't we start with introductions? So, Gabe, we'll start with you.
Vice Chair.
We're going to do it in group. I like it. Right, yeah.
April Ewing.
Eric Roberts supports that.
Stella.
Is there a difference between both potential? Like, I feel like there's
Steve Ross.
And online, let's see. We have Nathaniel. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
You're with USFCA, is that right?
I'm with EEC. I'm an intern there.
Oh, perfect. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
All right, we got Sonia Smiley. Hey, Sonia.
Hello.
Julie Galloway with the staff in the enforcement office. Hey, Julie. Nothing, Julie. All right, and then Brian Linkhart with Kentucky. Hey, Brian.
Hello.
So that's everybody. All right. Where do you, ma'am?
Okay, first establishing deactivation progress continues in 333 building. Today we've segmented 305 converters and we have 299 compacted in storage. This week has been a challenging week due to the heat, so crews were limited on work minutes in the building, so that will slow progress a little bit. But all in all, the main thing is there was no heat-related issues this week with temperatures, so that's really good. We have a lease package that we've been working. That was sent to EPA in Kentucky on Tuesday of this week. And then the parcel 1 property transfer we're working on prepping that package to headquarters. We've already received approval from EPA and Kentucky on that environmental baseline survey. And we're getting the package ready to go to headquarters. It'll be with headquarters, and it has to go to Congress for like 60 days. And then once it comes back from there, then we'll be able to issue that to the IDA. So we're getting, I mean, it could be by the end of the year, I'd say, on the parcel one transfer potentially. So that's a good thing. The other thing related to the parcel one, and Eric has mentioned something potentially in the paper. We had a license agreement with the Fish and Wildlife, and the area where that parcel one was in that license agreement. So we recently sent them an amended license agreement, taking the area out from their license to transfer it back. So that way it's with us when we get the approval to do the transfer. So we anticipate our realty office signing the license agreement amendment Monday or Tuesday next week. So we try to get Fish and Wildlife about 30 days to update their maps and update their signage and update all their stuff to reflect that they will not have those pictures anymore. That we're getting it back. And so that was, I believe that's what it was trying to say, but anyway, that's a heads up on that. That's those I got. Any questions?
So you mentioned lease transfer, property parcel transfer, the July CAD tour, sightings and stuff. We will do driving around those individual areas to let you see kind of what ballpark acreage looks like. So and check out the 5P, which you guys recommended for further study for potential place sale. It kind of gets us for acreage space and some with Dylan on some graphs and some stuff like that. Make it work. Make things easier for you guys so you understand exactly what kind of space.
These first package is 80 to 100 acres-ish. The first bit is about 80, with the hope to go a little bit more. It's just south of Duff 6. It looks like a pizza slice. So it comes down this way, and then Dyke Road goes this way, and then it goes straight across to Dyke here. So the first bit is going to exclude this zone yard. So it'll be everything except for that. And then later, there's interest in taking that pad too. So initially it's going to be these pizza slices minus the pad, but future including the pad. So 80 initially, I don't think that's 28 acres, but it's close to 100 there. And then the parcel one transfer is outside of the 229 fence on this side of the plant. You know, the Paul Bridge Road comes in like right here. So it's south of that road down. Is where the parcel one transfer area is. So south of the Paul, down on the outside of the 229.
And that
Yeah, so that is going to get
so much. All right. Any yay riding questions, right? All right, Sonny, you got anything from Kentucky?
No, we did receive that lease package and we're working on that. We've got a lot of things in review right now. And we're working hard to get that back to everybody. So, that's about it really.
So that gets to DOE transition.
Yeah.
What is this?
Okay, so that's the next slide. So we have a few transitions coming up at the site. That'll start one of them started June 1st, one of them will start August 1st. It may be easier to kind of draw this out a little bit, so I'm gonna come up here and break this board a little bit. I would be focused on the phone and not be confused. Alright, so right now I've got contract at 4. Got the ED. Which is FBT doing that now. We've got W6. Which is the S doing that now. We've got ISS, Infrastructure Support Service, which is the ED doing now. So at that, for this one, we got FRB. This one is MTS. And for this one is FBT. So on 6-1, this is MTS contract. Transition to a new contractor. And a new contract. So, flip to the next slide. So, the new contract is Operation Site Technician Support. Go back. Sorry. The new contract is Operation Site Technician Support. So, this is now OSMS. We love acronyms. Operation Site Technician Support. And the new contractor is very clever. MCSA. So essentially it's the same MCS team plus some new partners. So they put an A on the end. Okay, so that's happening. This training is happening at both and for MCS. Also on 8th. Swift is introduced into the contract. And so what that means, what that so for the OSMS contract, just all W6 part of that, plus more. It's Mission Conversion Services Alliance, MCS. They're a company that's formed from Oak Ridge. And they were awarded the contract in December of 2024. They just got notice to proceed June 1st, so now the transition can begin. Their contract value is about $2.3 billion over a 10-year period of performance. There's a 5 base and then like a 3 and a 2. Very similar to what John had. The partner, the company made up of Atkins Villas, which is currently one of the partners of the current MCS. Westinghouse Government Services, which is also part of the current MCS. Amentum, which Amentum just bought Jacobs. So, for partnership, Jacobs was one of the partners. Now Amentum bought them out, and Amentum's here. So the team partners includes Swift and Staley, which the prison place there, and then Aquila and Terra in human services. So talk about OSMS. Okay, so kind of the parallels between. You know the W6 operation, that's what MCS does, so W6 ops. So that's the main piece, the studies and operations. And I'm gonna put slash and so for 40,000 soldiers, but the database has got a whole inspection program and everything associated with those, so that's all part of that currently in the the NCS that pretty much this contract come over, scope was one. Pieces of this one, pieces of this one, come over. No pieces of this one, come over. Some small pieces of this one. So, for, at Portsmouth, the scope one was laundry. The purpose was, let's not burden our young education contractors. Let them focus on getting the admission done. Any support service stuff, routine operating type things, put it under review. So that's what's operations side issues. So, trying to put all that over here. So for enforcement, laundry, utilities. For Paducah, utilities, DSS, Air Force, engineer, fire, things. Emergency management, same here. So, any facilities associated with construction, building wise, they also manage surveillance and maintenance associated. So for instance, there's probably 20 or so facilities or more associated with utility operations. Great example is take 611 water treatment. So everything associated with 611, then goes over here for surveillance and maintenance responsibility associated. And so the same thing, like at Portsmouth for utilities. And the goal is to have similar programs under this contract for both Portsmouth and Paducah. So we can take a person at Paducah, they can go to Portsmouth, and they already know the program and procedures, exactly the same. We're using this contract and this contractor to make it consistent, to try to help with our one PPO initiative. Because right now, you took block that tag out, we keep that. At Paducah, that's one way, and Portsmouth is a different way. So we're trying to make it to where we take somebody from Paducah and go to surveillance at Portsmouth, do an analysis of the program, and they're exactly the same. So they already know what it is, know what it looks like, without having to get up to speed and learn all the nuances and differences. So for this piece, we have the public relations system, public address, which kind of goes along with participating in some street lighting. So, the same thing with this, and fire extinguisher inspections. So not all the fire being one. Fire extinguisher inspections, that's going to be over the mess. And then public address and public meeting. Go along with trying to bring things back together where they belong. They kind of got sparsed out over time, with different contract changes and things like that. So, the other thing, ID, the goal here is ID put under one to try to consolidate networks. Because right now we have like 6 different networks. And so, putting it under here to try to consolidate, to get it down to maybe 3, attention than I'm gonna have, so. That's enough for that. Safeguard and security will stay in the split. NOCNA comes over here. That here, which is NCA now, material control, accountability. Rail, this is another thing, rail, all rail service. So, split that piece of rail. Releases, they'll stick that piece of rail, now, this contract is just for the site. For at Paducah and at And so any support function you can see on that bottom, quality, safety, ICE, whatever support functions it takes to support these programs and functions. Those kind of project management support type positions will go over as well. So as I mentioned, notice the proceedings start on June 1st. The 11-month transition is 120 days. For the 4 months. With target to start operations on October 1 or 2, whatever that first. So I kind of covered some of this as I went through the full scope. But the SWIFT contract can be replaced with Wind Dynamics. There is a monthly contract enforcement for their ISS. Their outbound calls. It was just awarded in April, and they're waiting for notice to proceed. Once they get notice to proceed, they can start transitioning efforts and things like that. Northwind does have a teaming partner, Swift Staley. So that is one link between the two, both SMS and the video contract for infrastructure. They both have Swift and Staley as a teaming partner.
Question.
Yep.
Swift and Staley is enforcing the two and Paducah?
For OSMS, they will be.
Okay.
For the infrastructure and the here, they are. It just so happens that they are also a team on this. So they are for both. Yes.
So even though fortunate to do with the ISS, the Northern Dynamics and Swift with the same teaming partners, it is not one contract. It's two separate contracts. Right. Will look like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're a little different.
Okay.
So this is the current ticket price. Is what our Swift was.
Mm-hmm.
But now this is going to be a cost plus award. The contract type is changing. The reason it's changing is because with the decision 2029 and focus on the cell and all these different things, we don't have good numbers on personnel fluctuations. So with the cost plus award fee, cost plus, if it fluctuates up and down, or whatever, if it grows to at one point, just going off of kind of forced to compare, in the midst of all the shenanigans and heyday, we'll add another 1,000 people most likely to support the operation that Paducah to get us to where it is. So, depending on timing when that happens, really say this many number of people or this many numbers, so we switch to cost plus award fee, so that way we can fluctuate that through time if needed.
I think real quick, cost plus is whatever it costs to do, and you add your profit number on top. So $100, $10, whatever. Perfect price is DOE, that's what we have minutes in the cash. Something that an agreement on a price, and they're going to pay $90, regardless of what.
Regardless of how you do it, if you're really good or if you're really bad, you're still getting there $90. There's no way really to control that. You're getting $90. That's what big price is about. Big price is about all risk, shifted, and it's $90 and that's what we have to pay regardless if the service is good, complete, finished, whatever, $90. But the cost plus the work fee, the work fee comes in to where you have some control on how performance is and how it's not. To where we can award fee, like in Eric's scenario, straight in. It's built into that fixed price number. And the cost plus, it's a percent of the total value, and then you have to earn. And if you don't earn, you lose it. So we're able to provide input to performance, make sure that we're getting what we're looking for, and ensure that the things are moving. For the following infrastructure contract value about $53 million over 5 years. So this is split up with a 3 and a 2 for the 5. Typically, for small business, it's a 5-year, they break it 3 and 2. The OSMS one is large business, so it's a 10 with a 5 and a 3. So since they scope, this is what they're keeping. They will have road maintenance, pest control, janitorial of the facilities that are theirs, and janitorial of the facilities that are at Farm Beach. We have it set up to where if the OSMS contractor wants to purchase that service from, they can, we can work that out. But as far as government furnished service, again, kind of going back to the theme of keeping the D&D contractors focused on what they're doing beyond demolition, remediation, things like that. These services be provided to them. So parking lots, roads, access property, safe parking security. So this is more like physical security where you got your badges, security locks, things like that. Your physical security, uniforms, pre-planned type things, all of that through physical security. Plate management, so that's GSA management. They do it for services and they do it for DOE. Mail services. Health services currently, they do for DNR, they do not do it for OSMS, but they will be adding OSMS to mail services. So essentially, they go pick up the mail, have some drop points, and the mail gets dropped off. And then they pick up the mail and they mail it out to the post office. So, and then janitorial to their assigned facilities and the DNR assigned facilities. One thing about Promore's that's different, safety security, you don't know if they're talking about guards and guns, which is guards and guns, boots on the ground. We're talking about like safeguard security, which is physical security, which is like badges, tamper-proof locks that protect classified, or like your safes and your classified storage and things like that, and security plans, foreign visits, visitor passes, and all of that's kind of physical security. So infrastructure contractor does that. Parts of those programs would be all under those. Next, so for access condition, it's going to start August 1. It's a 60-day transition, so that's why timeline is a little bit. Because this is so much more, it's longer. So it's 120 days versus 60, but the end goal is both will be ready on operations on October 1. So that way, everything lines up with the scopes that are moving from Swift over, so they both, this will all start on the same day. So the follow-on contract for NWD, the follow-on Swift or infrastructure contract that NWD was awarded. A lot of this was already taken out of it when we put it out for bid. So because of that, the state is important to align, because Otherwise, if it didn't align, you'd have to add services back in somewhere for a short period of time. So it's critical that those dates align because that's already been. Most of it's already, it was out when fall on, questions were proposed. So at Portsmouth, they are also having an issue with transition. And their DD transition is Southern Ohio cleanup. Season of Southern Ohio cleanup forum, something. I don't know, they call it SOCO. So they're aligning this DD scope to match with that new contract. The only fellow that's not having transition is FRP. However, as you see here, losing scope. So scope is going from them over. So in the midst of all this contract transition, we worked a proposal for deduct for those scope areas that FRP currently has that will come out. It'll be effective September 30th, 12, 15, you know, whatever. For it to all scope areas moved. So we're currently in the process. We're sending the request for proposal for the deduct of all the scope elements going from them over. We are anticipating that proposal on July 17th. So we'll evaluate that. The main thing is, no one is going to be harmed during transition. We're doing belly button count mapping. So we're taking work charts as they are today. Certain boxes, these are going to OSMS. Certain boxes on the quarantine, these are going to OSMS. And then here's the statement under the infrastructure statement, the activation mediation meeting, and the same thing is happening at Portsmouth. So we're having routine meetings multiple times a week. This week we were listening for several days, couple days, trying to map all this out. So a lot is going on, right? So all of this makes workers very distracted. Not a good thing. So we want to make everybody feel like not to worry, right? You don't want people worrying, not going to have a job. So there's going to be a series of town hall meetings. Town hall meetings will be held by NCSA, the new OSMS award. The British Services Alliance. They'll be held by MCSA's Transition Human Management. Paducah is July 9th. So I think it's 3 and 4 in the afternoon for those on that can go. They'll be recording and posting on the website. They already have a website you can go look at. SOCO has one as well. The requirement that I think within 72 hours of notice to proceed, they have to have it up. The NWD for the SWIFT they don't have enough yet. They don't have an NWD yet, but they will once they get NWD. Have one up within a couple of days or so. At Portsmouth, I know that the town hall meetings are going to start, I think, on July 16th. So it'll be Paducah first and Portsmouth on the town hall. The OSMS team, they've already done facility walkdowns at Paducah. They're in Portsmouth this week doing walkdowns, so they have hit transition full steam ahead. So this is a good thing. There's a lot to do. Sounds like 120 days, maybe 4 months, can't switch over 4 months, but there's a lot to do in that time. I think that was it. So I'm taking questions anybody has. Hopefully that was informative and helpful.
Alright, so if I understand this right, the debt has been shut up over several contracts. This is the kind of go back through and sort. Yes, your low number of hours, race cars, your AC, and kind of regroup back to how you right with the idea and the consistency of the operation. There's unfortunately one DPO is a little more streamlined, easier to manage, and if you need to move folks back and forth for various reasons, seamless stuff. You put it in ongoing support actions, activities, the laundry, facilities, utilities, everything with the ongoing operations. That's it, right? It's where we continue to operate, at least for a little while. And so it makes sense to have that operating facility. And then that leaves kind of the other piece, which is the D&D and remediation. Separate, where they are not spending dollars or having to decide where to spend dollars on routine operations. They're really focused in vision oriented.
Yeah.
Kind of.
The other thing about is reporting, they're not transitioning. So you say, what's their contract with? So right now, they've been extended through June 2027. There's another extension process to June 2028. So it's currently in order process. Extra with headquarters waiting on that. It's not been officially announced, but the whole goal is to try to make everybody feel like they understand, right? You don't want somebody thinking like everybody's gonna want to jump somewhere. It's gonna last a while. So.
And the reality is, it's not like FRPs. It's a complicated process to
Really?
yeah.
So in the midst of all of this transition, we would have to start a bit on this, so that didn't make sense. So that's why the 1 year on top of the option period to end date, because with all the people we lost, backlogs and everything, we don't have people that can do all of this transition and make sure all this gets done, plus support big contract procurement acquisition like that. So that's why we graciously asked for an additional year for them, so that way it gives us more time to kind of get all of this transition, all the kinks worked out, all of that, because it's going to be probably up there with our, it's going to neck and neck for number 2 of largest transitions that we've had. Number 1 being from USEC NRC to DOE, that was pretty huge. When the lease was returned back to DOE, that was probably the top transition number 1 of the biggest. And then this one is right up there with that. Well, that was number 1, and this one we've had some other transitions where we've had some CBA things and whatnot, but I mean this one's pretty complicated because there are a lot of different CBA involvement, collective bargaining agreements, and just parts and pieces moving. And I can give you an example of something that just came a lot this week. So right now at Paducah, Swift and the infrastructure contractor does dosimetry for everybody at the site. Dosimetry. So when the dosimetry moved, I deal with moving all the rad services, infrastructure, we done MS, and the big rad support was at Portsmouth is done by whoever space you're working. So if you're working in E&T space, they supply it. If you're working in a 6 space, they supply. That's how it's done in Portsmouth. That doesn't really work for Paducah because Paducah is not set up like sports. So they structured it to be like that, but without one of the nuances of how Paducah works, that's not going to work. So we're making some tweaks to how all that's going to work. With support through OSM is essentially providing the RAD service support to access, working that out. Which I just wanted to be that we have this issue. So, because they say, oh, well, we still got to have RAD programs, we still got to scan our motors and scan excess materials and do all this. It's like, well, the intent was to not have a program because that's why they put it over here. And so you're telling me you still need one because you're gonna do all these things, so. That was to not have two and more programs, because right now we've got three. We've got a swim program, we've got an FRP program, and we have a MC. So the thought was to move, their grad needs are pretty minimal. So it was to move it under OSMS, OSMS will provide them the service. So then we only have two, one full program to be, so. Charge to make things more. Yeah.
So, okay, the same thing with the medical facility there. They can go with emergency management and workforce, or they can stay.
So here's the thing about medical. So each employee is responsible for providing their medical support for their employee. So they can choose to do that however they want. They can do it off-site, they can do it. FRB's chosen to have it where they offer about the ALS. The ALS is the piece that's critical for the emergency management. So advanced life support. So from a medical standpoint, they also have to provide medical to employees, just like keeping required. So ALS will be provided by other CMS. Question is, I don't know, we're just getting started and I haven't seen the transition plan and I'm not in that working group yet, but question is, how are they going to structure that, set that up? Are they wanting to know that they keep the health work contract? They wanting to go offside? I don't know, because I haven't been involved in it. I don't know if they know yet. So that'll be one thing that we'll start discussing. There's all these working group meetings, pretty much. If you can think of it, there's a working group on it, there's a working group on environmental permitting and reporting, there's a whole working group on emergency management, medical, working group on ESS, working group on all these interface areas, right? There's a pretty much working group for every single one of these things. That we're trying to work through where the SMEs, everybody get together and even if it doesn't make sense, then it's like, okay, what does make sense, and then let's fix that to make sense, let's not do something just pick it up. The medical has been one that's been a question, so really, waiting to hear about what they plan to do, how they plan. So, what I can tell you is from the FRP standpoint, they're looking at losing probably about 175 people. So they're not going to need the health support they're getting today to that extreme. They still are going to need it for their workers, for all this stuff. The ALS definitely needs to go, and so we'll have to provide that service. But with the reduction in the numbers, is that going to be cost beneficial to have on-site workers versus, and maybe, you know, they'll have to analyze that and decide. So, yeah.
Just to clarify, FRP is losing 120 people, but those people are getting picked up by the other people. It's not really their job.
No, they're going to OSMS, yeah. The 107 have a transfer to OSMS. So they're gaining a lot versus what MCS has today, right? So MCS today only has however many, and then now they're gaining quite a few. They're probably going to gain 200 plus maybe employees. So initially, the initial plan is to not rock the boats and everybody just kind of stay where they are until they kind of get a space management plan figured out. And just kind of methodically start trying to move and co-locate slowly through time, because nobody likes change. Nobody wants change. Nobody wants to switch lockers. Nobody wants to switch when they change out. Nobody wants to break somewhere else. I mean, I get it. Those are the critical values to the workers, and it's no joke. It is. It really is. I mean, it's their home. They've been there. So there's no intent to just start shuffling people up and getting everybody angry from the start. Everybody's just going to stay where they are, and will have their planning day meetings and they'll be wherever they're at, and they'll change out and get ready to go to their meeting. It's gonna take some time, work through it in the beginning, but slowly, the goal is to kind of get everybody grouped together, but initially, they're just gonna stay where they're at, do everything the same. So on my chapter one, everybody's gonna still be where they're at today. We just maybe a different check and a different place where they have to go for the bond. Yep.
Remember the PSS. On here, this is exciting building, I'm ready for the money. Understand day one, but in the long.
The plan is yes.
Figure the taxes are gonna on fire.
Right, and they own fire.
Yes, yes, exactly.
They have the fire piece too, so that is the plan. This is what again, this is our trade, I've been fire trading all week, let's make a deal person, but, just for instance, you know, it was all 10, 5 PSS, 5 shift coordinators are gonna go. Nope, can't do that. Okay, half and half. Nope, can't do that. Okay, so this is what it ended up being. 3 PSS and 2 shift coordinators go over, 2 PSS, 3 shift coordinators stay. And you'll live with that. I mean, it's been. These are salary positions, so it doesn't go off seniority. The study positions will go off seniority. The salary positions, the issue, what it goes on is qualification. We've got a couple PSSs that are unqualified right now. So nobody wants both unqualified PSSs, which I get. Nobody wants that. But they're in the works getting qualified, and you know, they'll be eventually. So we're having to balance qualifications to make sure that everybody's successful on day one and go on. So it's, and you know, again, with the USW going on the seniority, the idea is these are the number of operators gonna be needed. Here's how many you're running. So if you have 20 positions per operator, what does that 20 look like? Who's gonna take those 20? Okay, if you get that 20 and not a single one has certification for the water plant, that's gonna be a problem. You're not, you have to have special qualification. So the goal is to get the number of positions. Let's see, if we use seniority, what does that look like? And then kind of go from there, because there could be some one-off special type positions that have certain qualifications that are going to be required.
Got another question.
Yep.
I'm going to ask them, see, what's the big bit of right now? So, could be wrong, but for R&B, the day job, out front, 5 days, like so.
I know MCS current operations is 5 days, but the folks coming over on day one will be whatever they are today, until they figure all that out.
See, you start about those preaching habit, don't want to later,
Yeah. It will be.
right?
And I don't know what they've said or said, and hopefully we'll have that answer for you in those town hall meetings. I'm only associated with this OSMS transition. So that RP show going on. The transition manager for OSMS is Zach Lover. It's, I mean, it changed, even small changes. And this is huge change.
So, in the world of seniority, what you're looking at is the whole thing. Seniority people that are gonna go over and then they're gonna go, what, not on 14? No.
Hopefully, like I said, they'll have those answers on the. I mean, I think day one, the intent is not to rock any of those boats and get everybody stirred up and fussed. Right?
Do some research, I'll get back to y'all. I'll have a basic question.
Yeah. Because I don't know, I actually haven't been in a lot of the conversations with them, so I don't know what they're planning. As far as work shifts.
True.
What I hear from them is that everybody's gonna stay put till they get everything figured out. And I'm not sure they have everything figured out by once, so everybody's just gonna kind of do it.
This can't be all new, if there's some reference pattern, like some, this happened somewhere else in the country.
Yeah, so, great question. So typically, your contract to contract transition. So scope that's being performed today, that is much simpler and easier than when you move things all around and try to get parts and pieces that were pieced in and parsed out back together again. So you don't be right here. But humpty back. So, there have been some transitions. It doesn't matter, they're all hard when you start messing with this much.
I've got to follow this on the puzzle. But like, what is the line of authority? If, talking about working groups, about different agencies, what's the line of authority?
So I can tell you, like, I have to go to Joel and Reinhardt and say, they want to take all my money. I can't give my money up. So then they have to come and say, this is how the money's gonna work. So I battle for my stuff that I can control. Everybody's playing for their own things, and so even like I said, it's let's make a deal. I mean, I'm like, the machinery and the red stuff program goes over here from the infrastructure. Go like, oh, well, those RCDs that were doing that need to go to FRP, and I said, no, the plan is to make FRP do more work. They're supposed to be focused on the work that they have. That's the whole plan of this, all is in this contract. So I ended up winning my battle, putting them back over there with all the other ones that are going through Swift over. Trying to keep the pieces whole together in moves and not sparse it out, but it is kind of my goal. Sometimes I win and sometimes I lose.
I think to Billy Bob and Robert's question, this plan isn't all happen. And for what it's worth, like DOE is, I know I have this staff 2 years ago on how to be prepared for communicating and dealing with stress because we know this is going to cause headaches. So how do you acknowledge when somebody is like coming to you?
Like I said,
I don't like this new work schedule and I'm angry. How do you engage them and have that discussion? And so
you have to be very mindful of those things that are what will offset, what will trigger response. And so you've got to minimize the impact to those things initially and slowly over time make your shift and change. They can't be like this, it's gotta be slow. It just will not work. But ultimately, it goes I'll say dispute resolution type topics go to Joel and Reinhardt and come together with us. We say okay, and then that's what we go with. So I'm getting good at throwing my pitches, so I just keep doing it.
And the good news is, this is a better method for better method.
It is.
It's not always the case.
Really thought we were going to have trouble getting down to kind of what their goal, like what they thought they needed versus how much we had. We really got really pretty close on numbers. I think for FRP, there's 3 positions that they need, but we don't have people to give in those 3 positions because of attrition, because of whatever reason. And so I think out of Paducah to be in that spot for just 3, that's pretty good. I think Portsmouth is within 2, and they're kind of the same thing. You know, one of the positions is HR. You know, I can't give them an HR person, we don't have any, you know, there's none to give. So, you know, we just know they need one, but I don't have any to give to them, so they're gonna have to either use corporate reachback or something else. Or use the ones they already have today with MCS. I can, but I have to together and understand that we've got positions that we just can't give. There's nobody to give to them. And that's, these three are kind of that situation. And I have to say, no, you're not getting them, so quit asking. And then they go and say, we gotta have these, and they won't give them to us. And then I tell them what it is, tell them situations. No, you ain't giving anybody. So that's for the last, since June 1st, man, June 1st. Martin trading like the best. She said, 25 days in on this. We got to walk over one to go. Yeah.
Other questions?
Everybody is working really good together. I mean, for the most part, like I said, there are really compromise and meeting in the middle. It's just, you know, it takes a little bit.
How are you guys doing with, I know, several months ago, real, you know, with the shift of the changes, and there was a lot of talk of people being phased out. How are we doing with that?
So we're anticipating to know more about that once the secretary period gets confirmed. I think that there's a reorg plan out there, but they're just holding it tight and holding it until confirmation, I think, to lay it out. So, but for right now, I'm not hearing anything about any more federal reduction or anything like that for us. But I do think there's going to be some reorg. What does that look like? Will that impact people? I know open positions, you can put out for like doing like the top 2 critical. You can put it out, but it would be filled internally. So somebody to move over to wherever to do. I think that's more safe or whatever. They're allowing that to happen, but that's it. No new hiring, just all of internal moves. I really think that just waiting on confirmation to go up. Hello. That's tight. A lot of coaches.
So as we get closer, I'm sure there'll be more updates.
Yeah.
And eventually, you're going to see at least folks with new hats showing up, right? Probably a lot of same faces, but new hats and stuff.
The big thing here is, you know, with this OSMS, assuming more, they now have a bigger role in the community. They now have community plan commitments. They have, you know, I know NCS plays some part, but now they're going to play more because they are getting more hurt and having more people. Really, everybody's still there, but they're just moving around.
Good deal. All right.
Any questions from anybody on the phone? Any other questions? Okay. My name is there. Hey,
So I mean, you were absolutely right about SOCO. It's SOCC, little stylized SOCC.
Yeah,
So
I'm still there.
you're spot so smart.
Learning these acronyms, they're all new.
Joe's gonna be so proud of you. Like, that was his gig. Oh yeah.
He's ripping off on me.
It wasn't even let him talk. Because of these slides, let me just write. All right.
Right up.
All right, so are there any members of the public that would like to provide public comment for the record tonight? All right. Final comments from the board, anything from you guys? I appreciate you guys being here on a very hot Thursday night. Haley's contacting you guys with plans for the tour in July, so make sure you get the information back to her. It is going to be a slightly different. It's not a traditional like going inside the building site tour. It is a future use plan tour. So I know that's going to mention like a couple of folks that asked like, I've been on the tour. Like this, the focus is different. The intent is different. We'll kind of go from there. And then yeah, that's kind of where we are at the time being. Congratulations to the board members who have been reappointed. We're very excited to have you for another 2 years. And as soon as we have word on the others, we'll let you know. Anything from you? No. All right, boss lady.